Yeah, I agree.
That brings me to my final topic for all of this. We've all been the new invader, and we've all been in the place where we've invaded our first gank, and we've been instantly deleted, and we sat back and thought to ourselves, what did I do wrong? So, I really want to see if, or see what advice you have for someone who's looking to get into invading, and whether or not we all give the same advice, because that's something I'm curious about.
I have a lot to say.
Give your top 5 tips, I guess.
Let's make that top 3, otherwise Drunk will be speaking the whole afternoon.
Yeah, fair. Top 3 then.
Let me think. What's the most important thing? Number 1, dueling kind of sort of does help you be a better invader in the 1v1 situation, but invasions will make you worse at dueling. I wholeheartedly believe that. There's group fights are not the same as a 1v1 fight, and doing the other too much will make you bad at the other. You know what I'm saying? You guys agree with that?
There's an element of truth in that. I think that they are definitely different kinds of fight. If you go into duels expecting them to be like invasions or vice versa, then you're going to get bodied and not know why, because the logic that dictates them is completely different. The only thing you can take from duels to invasions is like the technical learning, not the actual tactics. The strategy must be changed up completely.
Yes, a duel will help you fight a lone host, but that's only 10% of the time you're in an invasion. You know what I mean? At least that.
Yeah, I wouldn't just like apply it to lone host. It's more, I think duel translates to invasion in terms of being able to pressure one single opponent until death. So if you're having a 3v1 and 2 of those are currently preoccupied with PvE, being a good duelist and knowing how to pressure an opponent correctly can make and break the invasion in terms of you're able to actually kill that one phantom within 5 seconds or within 10 seconds. Whereas if you play too passively, they get the ability to recover, and then you have a 3v1 again, and you're starting from 0 basically.
Yeah, and duels will ingrain in you mentality. There's no sense of urgency in a duel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you may not seize your opportunity when you need to, you know what I mean?
That's true if you think duels are passive, but like if you're dueling correctly from my point of view, it's all about like who has the aggression and who can push furthest, right? And you see that usually with beginner players where they get one hit in and then they double roll out of priority, right? But what you want to do is, like, you get one hit in, and then you want to get the second hit in, then the third, then the fifth.
I play that way too. I do. I play aggressively like that, but most people seem to not. Most people seem to be the person you just described that gets a hit in and then panic rolls out. And that's kind of why I feel like dual brain kind of hurts you in invasions, you know what I mean? Because you get used to people being like that. Am I wrong here? You get used to people that are like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, in a good duel setting, if you're, doing a good job, you're probably on the aggressive most of the time. But a lot of people don't want to play that way. They want to run around in circles and wait for you to swing. Have you guys experienced that where you get a dude that just will not take the first swing? They just run around. I hate that. That's the biggest thing I hate about duels. And you get used to people that are like that, and that's what will hurt you in invasion. Because invasion people aren't like that. You're random. You're average Joe, Johnny Casual. He's not like that. He's coming straight at you with that fucking L2. You know what I mean? They're a lot more aggressive in invasions. And maybe that's because they're dumb. I don't know if it's because they're dumb or inexperienced, or maybe they just think it's more fun to play that way. Or maybe it's overconfidence because they have the numbers, but they're a lot more aggressive. And they make mistakes that you have to capitalize on. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's definitely the overconfidence of having 2 over-level babysitters next to you. Because that's usually like how my invasions go. They see one of their babysitters dying, and then suddenly the aggression slows down, and okay, they just realized they're dealing with the real deal here.
Yeah. If they weren't like that, you would never be able to carry a Granger. The only reason that's possible is because people are overconfident. And you need to, yeah, I think most invaders should always assume that they're going to be like that, because they usually are. It's like probably like 80% of invasions. You know, they're not like duelists, is the point I'm trying to get across. And for another tip I see a lot of invaders struggle with is that they're trying to force pokey weapons to be good in invasions. Now, I know a lot of you guys, especially you and Maya, you guys like your thrusting swords, your spears, but you know, there's a specific reason that a lot of invaders don't like them in invasions, and that's because you need a crowd control option in invasions. And spears and anything that's pokey don't have that. You can only hit, generally speaking, one person with a weapon like that. So if you're getting swarmed in a gank, you're probably going to die if you try to, you know, turn and burn with your spear, you know. Anyway, would you guys agree with that?
I think that if you're going to use a pokey weapon, then it either needs to be really fast in order to get in between swings, or it needs to have intense tracking like the heavy thrusting sword, so you can essentially go round corners and exploit very narrow gaps. There are places and times where a thrusting weapon is appropriate, and those times are usually when you have a co-invader, like I said, or if you're in a narrow hallway where you'll otherwise be constantly tinking off the walls if you're using like a dismounter or something.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You should always have something that you can swap to that's narrow. But in the vast majority of invasion, you're going to be getting swarmed by people, and you're going to want something with a big fat fucking hitbox so you can hit more than one person. And I've seen a lot of people just get shit on because they keep trying to make something that doesn't have that work, you know. A lot of people, when they have a heavy thrusting sword, they'll throw Flaming Strike on it, because that's the crutch of choice for most people. And we all know that one's kind of a crutch, right?
I mean, Flaming Strike's pretty fine, to be honest. I don't have as much trouble with Flaming Strike as I have with so many other Ashes of War. I think that the main problem with it is that it's kind of like Storm Stomp in the sense that it maximizes passivity and all of that.
Yeah, it's a good fucking turn and burn. Like, literally, it can fix the problem of narrow, pokey weapons. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will use it. It's a great Ash of War. But what I'm trying to tell people is, if it's not good in invasions, if it's good in duels, that doesn't mean necessarily it's good in invasions. Because the thrusting weapons are the best in a duel. But in an invasion, they're not that great. So if you're having trouble using your weapon of choice, whether it's pokey or not, try something else. Seriously.
I think that expands also outside of just poking weapons, because there are a lot of other dueling setups that simply will not work in invasions, and a lot of those are like the extended combo setups, where in invasion you never have time to do an extended combo. There's some guy on the hill spamming like Star Shower at you or something like that. You got to be quick and you got to get your damage in and then get out.
Agree. Yes, I agree. It's invasions are a hit and run guerrilla tactics type of thing usually, and that's why they're fun, right?
Yeah, there's an invasion meta and there's a dueling meta, and they're not the same meta.
Yes, so don't try to overlap them. A lot of new players make that mistake. They go into duels and they start winning with their weapon of choice, and then they come to invasions, and mindset and what weapons are good or not is completely different. So don't try to force what you did in duels to work. You know, adapt. Adaptability is very important.
Adaptability is king. Is that all three from you, Drunk, or have you got one more to go?
I think I've got one more. Yeah, what is the most important thing for a new invader? I guess I could explain the nature of how you actually win an invasion. A lot of people, when they first start invading, they will charge into a group of 3 people and fight them all straight up. And I do this sometimes if I can get away with it, but if it's obviously not going to work, I'll back off, right? But you don't want to do this, because 9 times out of 10, people will stun lock you, fucking kill you, and then you feel bad about yourself because you could have harassed them and led them to the enemies to get some help. Or maybe you could have separated them in some way. You don't want to fight 3 people all at the same time unless you're sure you can get away with it. You're sure that you're good enough to maybe do that. And like I said, I've been invading for, over a decade. And even I'm not good enough to consistently just box with 3 people, with no enemies, with no obstacles to hide behind.
It's a pure numbers game. It's simply not ever going to be possible. There are 3 of them. You got to split them up.
Yeah. Anybody who's seen my videos knows that I will try to do that sometimes because it's very fun, but a lot of the time that's not going to work. So you need to run. You need to find obstacles to hide behind because people are going to be throwing shit. You need to maybe get help from the enemy. I don't even do that enough. People should do that, even if I don't do it that often. But the point
in Elden Ring, you also need to, because half the time when there are no enemies around, if you get a squad that has the wrong composition, then you don't really have much of a chance. You need to get lucky.
Yes, if there is a wizard and then like a tanky dude and then maybe an incantation, if there's people that can throw things, you're gonna need enemies, basically. At least that's what I think, because it's impossible to fight people while some wizard with a fishbowl on his fucking face is throwing little pew-pews at you. It's just, it's annoying. So that's the type of scenario I think you should definitely go seek help. Use the environment. Go somewhere with cover, because this is a cover shooter. Remember, this is a cover shooter. People be throwing shit all the time. Go seek help if you're losing. It's okay to have a tactical retreat. There's no shame in that. And I'm going to sneak in another tip here. But
make it quick.
This is important. Elden Ring, the damage in Elden Ring is more insane than it's ever been in any of the other games. And that's both bad and good for you if you're an invader. Because you can get deleted really fast, but it also allows you to delete them really fast. So what I'm trying to say is always have some kind of nuke on you. Maybe it's Waves of Darkness, maybe it's Carrion Grandeur. What are some other good ones? The Ashes of War, maybe the spells that just fucking shred people in, a short amount of time. Burst damage is very important in Elden Ring. That's kind of sort of the meta in Invasions, it seems like less focused about whittling people down and more about getting rid of them when they make a mistake with your nuke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is exactly. I remember Steelovsky saying recently after the double anchor one-shot was pretty much patched out, we are now in the land of the DPS meta. Which I think we are.
Agree.
Maya, you've had a bunch of time to think about your tips.
Yeah, as Ronk's tips were quite game specific, I thought I'd bring like 3 tips that are more mindset, get good tips, so to just balance stuff out. The first tip that I can give, and this is like something I've heavily used myself, is just like when learning how to invade and learning how to play the PvP, is trying to extend the feedback loop as much as possible. And to explain on that a bit, like usually the main question I get from my viewers is like, what level is the best to invade in? Nowadays I say like just go straight to meta, like 125. But at the beginning I told people to stay at lower levels, at 30 or like even at base level. Because it takes so much longer to kill somebody at low levels. You're allowed to make more mistakes, and that's the feedback loop that you actually want to get better at the game quickly.
I heard you say once that if you want to get better, you should be seeking mistakes and failures.
Exactly. You want to have like a sparring session with your opponent, and that works better at lower levels. You want to see like what happens if I jump this, what happens if I just R2, what happens if I aggress more, will I get punished? So yeah, that would be my first general tip. Try to find ways to basically extend the amount of time you play, right? I mean, you could do that with a friend. You could hop into the arena with a friend with an unupgraded weapon and just smash it out and see like, can you get combos in a short amount of time? Can you space him better than he can outspace you and stuff like that? Just try to increase that. Obviously take breaks in between. I think if you do one invasion and then just like close your eyes for 15 seconds and try to relive the invasion that you have and just try to do nothing, take a break, that will like give you a X10 improvement compared to just like hopping onto the next invasion immediately, and that's actually scientifically proven.
I'd believe that. I'd be interested in seeing that as well. But
Me too.
I think there's a lot of that. I saw a lot of that kind of talk on Bad Red Man, whereby people kind of took their grievances and the mentality of the previous invasion into the next, and it always hamstrung their progress because it was just one big problem instead of the several distinct learning experiences that it otherwise could have been.
Exactly, yeah. That would be like another small tip that I haven't listed here, but always try to reset. Like every invasion is new. Try to let go of the previous invasion, no matter what the outcome was there. Obviously, I'm not saying like completely ignore your performance in the previous invasion, but that's what I do, right?
Yeah.
After invasion, what could have gone better? How could I improve? Like, what line of play would have been faster, or where could have done things differently to either change the outcome or improve of the outcome, even if you win an invasion, right?
I think that's where those of us who record their invasions have a really big advantage there, and we can actually go back and watch it play by play and
Yes.
go,
Exactly.
Actually, I like that a lot about this whole content creation thing. Because, you can go back and look at your mistakes and show them to your audience so they see what you did wrong,
Not only are you learning, but you're showing your learning to everyone else and helping them along the way.
Yeah, every time I
Exactly.
fucking blow myself up with my physic, I show them,
So yeah, the second one would be to remember that the only one you're really competing with is yourself. So I don't see it in terms of like who is the better player, or am I like better than streamer X. I'm always like trying to compare my performance from me from yesterday. So you might see your favorite streamer take on a gang of 3 people, but don't expect to go in and just be able to kill those 3 people like your favorite streamer. Really be completely honest with yourself, look at the mirror, assess your performance, say, okay, so I was able to kill those 3, but what it took me is all of my heals, all of my meatballs, and I had to have like, I don't know, like 3 avatars helping me. And then you go from there, right? And then you say, okay, like, how can I like make this a bit more challenging for the next run, right?
Slowly close that margin of error.
Exactly. And again, just compare to who you were like the day before, and not to who somebody is today, I guess.
That's a really healthy mindset, I think.
Yeah, he's 100% right. You think that way about every game you play, pretty much?
I think in that way, like with pretty much everything I do, not just gaming.
That's
And
probably
I think my AirPods just dropped out. To be more like game mechanic specific, I guess your setup matters a lot. I'm not sure about the other Souls series, but apparently there you could choose one weapon and just invade with that and win. But here in Elden Ring, like what I've realized is that, especially in invasions, the ability to change your weapon on the fly, like using hard swapping, can improve so much. For example, you're in a narrow corridor, right? You change to something with an overhead swing or more pokey stuff. You have more space, you go like more vertical, and the ability to swap your equipment on the fly, like the advantage that brings to invasions cannot be understated, I think. And your tool set matter a lot, or your setup matters a lot in Elden Ring.
I think that's a really good piece of advice, and honestly that moves pretty smoothly into what I'm going to say. All of mine are pretty much related.
Take it away then.
A lot of the time when I see like new invaders lose, essentially, it's basically guaranteed from the moment they invade because they haven't got all of the equipment. And this comes down to a lot of what Maya was saying, in that the more tools you have, the more flexible you are and the more dangerous you can become. But that's also true in the other direction. A lot of your tools are anti-tools, like boluses and healing items. A lot of your tools are things to neutralize problems that you'll encounter. And I see a lot of people invade without even neutralizing boluses, for example. They can't even cure poison. And that is asking to die. You need as much equipment as you can so you can cope with as many scenarios as you're likely to encounter.
Yeah, it's tragic when they come in without the boluses, man.
Yeah. And that ties into my second one, which is the nature of luck in this game is very important because the damage is so high and setups are such a large part of victory that many victories are through luck, but that isn't to say that they're through random chance, because luck is cultivated. You gotta be able to receive the good fortune. If you're not in a position to capitalize on a lucky occurrence, then you're not lucky. It doesn't do anything for you. So,
Yes.
if having those Starlight Shards is, you know, good, but you haven't got any healing spells equipped, then they're pointless, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You
Well,
gotta
not
set
really
yourself up for
pointless, but-
success. Yeah. They can only be used so many ways.
Having
More-
a
Sorry.
having a FP is actually like having FP is pretty important because there's so much throwing shit, you know. So I think Starlight Shards are kind of an essential for every invader. Sorry to cut you off. I just thought
Oh,
I'd
no.
throw that in there. Starlight Shards are pretty important. You should always dupe them.
Yeah.
If you're okay with duping, duping is kind of a controversial subject, but everyone's doing it, so you may as well do it too. Have them.
I think that comes to a lot. Like, you don't need to dupe to get a lot of these things, but a lot of the things that I see people invade without are sort of throttled by the game. Like, for example, your preserving boluses, your Scarlet Rock cures, they're limited in the game, so I can't blame a lot of people for invading without them, but you can't afford to. You got to find someone on Patch's Emporium or a friend to just give you a bunch, at least a single stack, so you can not die to the first person who rot breaths you. That was a big
Yes,
mistake
yes.
that I had in the early days of Elden Ring, where someone would rot breath me, and that would be an entire health flask that I would just throw away.
Yeah, you're right about all that. You need to come prepared. You know, some people neglect that and they suffer for it.
And I think the last point that I have is related to the first two, and it's that you can have all the tools in the world, like you can have an inventory like mine full of weapons, but if you don't know how to use any of them, they're not going to do you any good. You got to practice with a variety of shit, you've got to understand a variety of stuff, because not only will that help you use it, it will help you fight it. If you know what moves your enemy has, then you can see him coming.
Yes.
A great amount of invasions. You even see a lot of the big streamers get caught out by problems like this, because knowledge checks are a big part of this game. There are a lot of small things that, if you're unaware of them, they can easily kill you without you being able to do anything.
Yeah, that's true. The first time something catches you, surprise. There's a lot of Ashes of War out there people don't use that much, so when you finally see them, you get fucked up.
Yeah, a lot of the more obscure ones can still do a lot of damage.
Beastclaw Great Hammer comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a good example. And because no one really comes up against it commonly, very few people know what the timing is for it, and that usually means it hits.
Yes, and for not to mention the nasty lingering hitbox on a bunch of things in this game. Lingering hitboxes are, I feel like they might have been a mistake, because even if you roll things properly, latency can make a lingering hitbox still get.
I think that there's a lot of problems with how the latency and the hitboxes are handled, but I think that they're doing a good job in trying to tighten those up. I think there's only so far they can get with a game bearing easy anti-cheat on its back.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. You do have some very good tips, both of you.
That's pretty much all I have to offer, though, on that one. So is there anything that you two just want to say into the void before I finish up?
Yeah, you gotta be prepared to lose. This is the biggest thing for new invaders, obviously. And I don't know how much of the audience for this type of thing is players, but for the people that are out there, you can't get butthurt about your losses. Some of your best performances will be losses because we are designed to lose. Like, honest to God. That's the reason that solo host invasions aren't allowed without Taunter's Tongue now. Because From knew that a lot of new players were going to be playing this game, and they didn't want them to get invaded solo and get wrecked all the time. They didn't want that to happen. So now it's designed to be really hard for us. We're not supposed to win. That's the thing. We're supposed to be more of a inconvenience, a tough enemy to counterbalance the easiness of co-op. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
a loss isn't just a loss. You can still perform really well and lose. And if you just discard it as, useful learning because you lost, then that's a lot of learning and a lot of knowledge that you won't gain where you otherwise could.
Yes, exactly. Losses are nothing to be ashamed of. Nobody is keeping score. That teabag that you got from Mr. Host, you'll forget about it in 30 minutes. It's okay, man. You can lose. That doesn't mean you have to quit the game. That just means you have to understand what you did wrong. Now,
feel free to hold the grudge if that's fun for you. If you like having a nemesis to hunt and it's all in good sport and it's not making you upset, then go wild. Have your nemesis. But if it's affecting you in a bad way, then it really doesn't need to.
Fucking Radon.
I mean, we all have them. None of us is immune to the tilt. But it's something that you can make harder or easier to happen. I think that's pretty good.
Nothing satisfies me more than dropping a bag on Radon's fucking puffy head.
You got to find the joy where you can, right?
Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a say, as a new invader, if you can win 50% of your invasions, you're doing good, because most people are only getting like 30%. On my best day, like my absolute best day, I'll get 70 or 80% wins. And that's, again, someone who's been doing this for a decade. So if you lose a lot, it's nothing to be ashamed of at all. Just keep going, get better. It's not just about getting better either. It's about finding the gear and the build that works best for you. You should always have a versatile build that can do a lot of things. Always have a ranged option. Always have something that can do a lot of DPS. And above all, just don't get butthurt if you lose, I guess. It's okay.
Advice for the ages. You all good, Maya?
Also, to add to that, one thing, don't forget to have fun. I mean, apparently, hopefully most of us still play this game because they're having fun. And it's okay to not run meta setups if that's what you enjoy. It's okay to run cosplay builds if you want to be silly. So yeah.
That is a really good point, actually. Take Iced Estus for an example. He certainly isn't a meta player, but he's very good, and I think he's very good because he uses what he finds enjoyable. And if you're enjoying something, you learn it really well and really quickly.
Yeah, that's kind of that's sort of my niche too. I don't optimize my builds. I use what I think is cool.
You don't need hard swap.
Yeah, well, I don't hard swap because I use a lot of spell sword builds that I kind of have a lot of versatility just from that. And hard swapping breaks my immersion. I don't really like it. If I had to do that, you think that's silly that I care about immersion?
No, I don't. I always name my characters lore-friendly things just in case the host I invade is really into the game. I don't want to suddenly invade their world as ZX Sniper XZ.
I used to dabble in the swapping, but I don't find it necessary to be good. It is smart to be able to do that, but you don't have to do it.
It's an advantage, but it ain't necessary.
Yes, but fuck, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, you should make builds that you enjoy. That's why I'm not always using, full bull goats with a moon veil, because that's cringe. I don't want to do that, even if it would be better. What I want to use something cool like my thematic Magic Knight build with the straight swords. It's something that is cool but also mean. It's not as mean as it could be if I was going full sweat, but it's still pretty mean, and I'm enjoying what I'm using.
As long as you can still feel proud using it, right?
Yes. If you create this thing, then you want to take it into invasions and fight other players. That's one of the funnest things about invasions, is making your own thing. So make it your own thing. Don't copy fucking generic bleed build number 9542 with white mask, because I'm going to teabag you if you do that. But
use the knowledge you gain, but make it your own. I think that's a perfect spot to end. Thank you for... Sorry?
What'd you say?
What were you saying?
Generic builds piss me off. I just wanted to add that. You should definitely make your own thing, because you will play better, even if it's not technically as good as the generic thing. And yeah, people might teabag you. People might teabag you if you wear white mask or Radon's helmet. people might disrespect you because you look like every bleed build ever. You know what I mean?
That's very true. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for coming and having this quite extended chat with me. This went way over the time I expected it to take, but I had a blast, and we've got a bunch of real good stuff here, so this might even end up as 2 episodes.
Be sure to cut out all the dumb. Be sure to cut out all the dumb shit I said.
Oh, for sure. Oh, no, actually, I'll cut out all the good shit you said, and I'll leave all the dumb shit in.